everybody, I'm Chris. This is B is for Build. Behind me is my V8 Vantage, and I've never really got to hear it run. I've never listened to it rumble, and I really want to do that. So in this episode, we are going to tune up the engine. We're going to get all our accessories put on, a new belt, new oil, get everything going, and start the car and see how it sounds. Stay tuned. I'm gonna go ahead and continue where I left off. In the last episode, we bolted up the power steering pump, and then this morning I realized I forgot to put this part in. This part sits in something like that. And it bolts into the power steering pump because it's a high pressure line. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and unbolt the power steering pump, drop it back down. Hopefully while it's free, I can bolt this thing back up. We'll get that power steering pump finalized and then we'll move on to the AC compressor. All right, got that power steering pump reinstalled. You can see the pulleys right there. The high pressure line is right here. It's not connected in case we need to access this space in the future projects. Next thing that we're gonna move on to, that only took about, I don't know, maybe an hour, which is a win. Anything that takes less than an hour, total win on this engine bay. Next thing that we're gonna look at is this auto tensioner pulley right down there. The guys over at redpants.lol, I'll put a link in the description of their site, saw that I needed one of these when I found out my belt was snapped, and he was kind enough to just send this right over to me. So got the belt here and the upgraded auto tensioner pulley. I believe in the 2007 and 8 Aston Martin they had a belt, or they have a pulley that has rounded edges. It doesn't have the guide edges like this one does. So when you upgrade your belt, you want to upgrade your pulley at the same time, and I guess it's a pretty easy swap. So I'm gonna go ahead and you can jump in there and pull the tensioning arm off, and then that'll bring the pulley out, and then we'll swap out the pulley and put the tensioning arm back on. This was super easy to get off, very, very simple. Just take one bolt out and then it slides right off. Interesting, this is a part that's shared. This is a Ford Motor Company part. You see the stamp right there. And this is the old pulley that we want to upgrade to the one with the two guide edges. So we'll just go ahead and unscrew that, screw this one back in, and then reassemble it on the car, and we will be done with that upgrade. Okay, reinstall the auto tensioner and the pulley. That was a cakewalk. On to the next thing. I'm sorry, you guys can't see anything, so I'm just trying to move a little bit faster pace. On to the next thing, the new knockoff AC compressor. This will definitely not be a cakewalk. I'll install it from the bottom, and that's the last piece of auxiliary stuff with the pulleys. So after that, we can get the belt on. Finally got it. This is the new AC compressor right here. It was about a 3-hour install because on top of here I had the oil lines that were previously disconnected. It's hard to see, but those had to get routed in, and then you have the two lines that go into this AC compressor. I'm happy to say that this knockoff is a perfect fit, so it's the right one for the car. And the lines got plugged into this thing, and then you install this guy, and then you have to make sure that the lines also stay away from the pulleys up front. So now that that's all installed, we have the new, the power steering and the AC compressor back in there. So now we can go ahead and install our new belt. This belt was no joke. It was very, very hard to get on, but I finally got it on. I took the auto tensioner on and off multiple times. I found that the easiest way to do it was, is 2 people. But if you don't have 2 people, you get a wrench on a big, long handled like torque wrench, like I was way out here on the auto tensioner, and then take the power steering side of the belt off. Let that be slack, and then as you pull this your way, you can use your other hand to slip the belt on over there. So we got it on there. Thank God. The way that I learned how to do this, by the way, is on Red Pants' YouTube channel. He has instructionals about Aston Martins. I'm not getting into the nitty gritty on the details because barely any people own this car, and it's not a universal power plant, so I don't think it's going to be as educational to as many people as other builds. So if you guys are interested, just head over to his YouTube channel. I'll put a link in the description. If you happen to be here because you own an Aston Martin and you want to know how to change your belt or anything else we're doing, that's going to be in more detail. Another thing that he does explain how to do is the oil change. We lost a lot of oil when we were playing around under here previously, and when we had to remove those dry sump pipes, we drained the oil. So it's time to do an official oil change on the car. It's a very expensive oil change, so I had to do it right the first time. It's almost $200 in supplies to do the oil change, so I went off and got the legit oil. It takes some very unique oil that BMW makes, so I got that, 10 quarts of that at 14 bucks a quart, and then Red Pants was kind enough to send me the oil change kit that has some O-rings and a new Aston Martin filter and all that good stuff now. So I'm gonna jump underneath. There are 4 or 5 different drain points to drain the oil from this car. So I'm gonna start to drain them all out and show you what we're gonna replace. It's never easy with this car, man. It's just never easy. So this is the old oil filter, and I did the stab it in the side and try and twist it off with the screwdriver method. And you see I murdered the thing because it wouldn't come off. I had to use 100% of my force to finally get this thing to break loose. And then when it broke loose, it brought along a piece of the car with it. This is what the replacement one looks like. So it brought this along with it, which is very unfortunate because I don't have an Allen wrench this size. So I'm going to try and find another tool that will suffice. If not, I might have to return to this tomorrow morning, but I'm going to try and find something around the shop. And if I can, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this with a blowtorch. Even though it's covered in oil, I'm going to hope that the oil doesn't ignite and heat this up. That way, hopefully it'll want to come out of there a little bit easier, and stick this bottom part in a vise and stick something in here and see if I can crank it out. Damn, man, I had to use science. I couldn't find an Allen that was this correct size, so what I did was I managed to find a nut that was the right size, so I welded that onto the back of a bolt, and then dropped that in there, and then I used the little lighter to heat up this whole area, get as hot as I could before I gave it a hit with the impact wrench, and then it came right out. So now we can go ahead and continue draining oil out of the car, knowing that we can put the new oil filter back in. Not a bad way to burn through a few beers and about 130 bucks worth of oil. The oil change is now totally complete, but we're not done with fluids yet. We have to go ahead and refill our power steering system. Now that the power steering is all reconnected and everything's dialed back in, we can go ahead and top that level up, and we're done with the power steering work. And then also we're gonna go ahead and mock up that radiator in the front once again, fill the whole system with fluid. That way the water pump for the engine doesn't run dry while we're playing around and test running it. We now have plenty of fluids on the ground and in the car. The radiator is, things are hanging out. I dropped the oil cooler down a little bit because it had some pinches in the line, and I didn't want the dry sump pump to get screwed up. So I undid that, and everything's just kind of hanging out. Like I said, very temporary. I just want to hear this thing run. But we're full of fluids. We got plenty of water in there, and power steering and everything else. Next thing we need to add is a little bit of power. So I'm not really sure exactly how to dive into the battery here. I know it's, whoa, almost hit the camera with the door. I know it's back there, behind some of that padding and stuff. Oh, smells like fresh leather. Look at these seats. Sexy. I've spent about 0 time in here. Anyways, we're gonna have to jump back there. Behind that little back post thing, there's gonna be access to the battery, and we're gonna have to rip that old battery out and throw a new one in there. I don't know if I said this already, but everything is harder than it's supposed to be. This damn car. So this is our temporary battery. It's definitely not the right size for this compartment right here. We got the old battery out so I could measure it, bring it down to whatever shop I need to, and get a replacement one. The old battery weighed 55 pounds, which is insane. But I managed to get this rear thing off. There's a bunch of different battery clips down there on the bottom, which meant I had to take that backboard off, and that was the really tough part. But I got it, and then we got this battery in here just temporarily mounted up. And we got power, so let's see how it sounds. All right, here we go. Oh yeah, it's push to start. Check the belt. The belts are doing fine. That whining sound is the power steering, so I'm gonna go ahead and add some fluid. There we go, that got the sound to go away. I'm gonna go ahead and open up the garage door so I don't kill myself, and then we can rev it up a little. All right, all right. decent. It's decent. So the car sounds good, but it can sound a little bit better. This car has what's called active exhaust. I think that's the name of it. Anyways, there is a actuator inside the exhaust that opens and closes different exhaust routes based on the amount of throttle that you're giving it and different stuff like that. And we can go ahead and override that by this trick's called the old fuse 22 trick. There's a fuse right here that I'm gonna go ahead and pull out. And when I pull that out, it's gonna open up all the exhaust and give us the full breadth of the exhaust at all RPM. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull that out and let's see if it makes a difference. All right, let's see how it sounds. Oh yeah, that's a lot better. Nice. I wish I could go a little bit more, but it's almost 2 a.m. right now, so gotta tone it down. We did it. Car runs great, car sounds great, and I'm super happy with that. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace!